welcome on stage Rawia Abdel, who is the Director of Strategy and who would give us a talk about digital transformation.
Hi, everyone. I work at Strategy and, a global management consulting firm previously known as Booz & Company. We recently set up the Ideation Center at Strategy and, which is a think tank that focuses on key policy and management topics that are relevant to the Middle East region. And here, today I would like to talk to you about how companies in the region are preparing for the digital age. So we're all here today because we recognize the importance of digital. It's okay, I can just do it on the laptop. In fact, when we asked leaders in a survey that we conducted globally, it covered more than 1,400 CEOs in 83 countries, about the global trend that is shaping their business the most. Digital came out to be on the top. So it came out to be something that is of a bigger concern to these CEOs than demographic shifts, than shifts in economic power, than resource scarcity. Advances in technology is what's keeping up leaders of these companies up at night. Similarly, in the region, in a survey that we conducted jointly with Siemens, covering companies in the UAE and Qatar, more than 300 companies, leaders in the region understand the benefits of digital, primarily in boosting efficiencies. And similarly, they're starting to invest in various digital technologies. I mean, today in the conference, we saw a lot of interesting things that are happening, for instance, in the financial services industry. So when we looked at top GCC companies, we see extensive usage of social media, of apps, even what we call digital transactions, which include digital payments, digital banking, digital commerce, depending on the industry. We also saw that the usage of advanced technologies such as big data and analytics, such as IoT platforms, are also increasing in the region, which is all very promising. However, the biggest insight that we got probably from the research that we did is that all of these initiatives are still very siloed. So you have an organization that invests in a digital program here and a digital program there without having an overarching digital transformation plan for the organization. So in fact, 77 of the respondents, who are all executives in companies in the GCC, when asked to define what they mean by digital transformation, they associated that process with only one technology. And that's why these companies or these organizations are not able to reap the benefits from the technologies that they are investing in. Because frankly, buying the technology is probably the easiest task. How you leverage this technology is the tricky part. And we believe that there are key corporate enablers that are missing in the region, such as the strategy for going digital, the right leadership for driving the digital change, skills in the organization that can benefit from digital, investments in cybersecurity. When looking at strategy, for instance, only 37% of the companies that we looked at actually have a strategy that is fit for the digital age. And even when looking at that strategy and asking them what was their strategy for going digital, the vast majority of businesses, again, mentioned that their strategy was about applying one specific technology. So the responses that we got were, our strategy is to adopt an ERP platform. So it was very limited to technology. Other people defined their strategy from in going digital around realizing efficiencies. Very few was answered that it was related to growing their existing business models. But we didn't get any answer that is truly transformative. No company in the region is truly looking at redefining its entire business model based on digital. Similarly, when we looked at the leadership front to try to understand how companies in the region are driving this digital transformation, the IT department is still responsible for around 30% of the digital transformation activities that happen in the region. And in the absence of proper collaboration with the business, this could be problematic. Very few companies in the region have a chief digital officer. Only 1% from the sample that we had. In fact, also when we looked at the chief digital officer position on LinkedIn, our research was focused on the GCC. Most most CDOs were in the UAE, and most of them were in the financial services industry, followed by telecom and media. So again, this is a key hindrance for companies in the region to drive the digital transformation, because there's no leader that understands both technology and business that is driving this process forward. Another major obstacle is the availability of digital skills within companies in the region. So we tested a variety of skills, their importance as well as their availability in the region. And you have things such as user experience and human-centered design that came out as skills that are very important for driving the digital transformation, but are lacking significantly within companies. However, we saw that there is extensive recruiting activity among companies in the region to try to fill this gap in terms of talent. So if you look again at LinkedIn, you see that almost 10% of the job postings in the region are related to digital, compared to 7% in the US, for instance. In terms of investments in digital, there's actually a positive story here. 62% of companies are increasing their spending in digital, have increased their spending on digital in 2016. However, one of the issues potentially is that upper management, or CEOs in particular, are the main are the people who are authorizing technology decisions. And we will see later in the presentation, in the digital age with fast-moving technologies, in many cases you have to change your mentality and adopt more of a probably VC-like mentality. You have to invest in pilot projects, you have to experiment, you have to test. So this approach of conducting business cases after business cases for every single digital investment that you want to make might not necessarily work. And finally, in terms of challenges for going digital, cybersecurity was cited by 87% of the respondents in our survey as a major bottleneck. Limited data security represents a key barrier, especially in moving data to the cloud. Actually, 70% of executives stated that cybersecurity operations are maintained in-house in their organizations, which we think could be a major issue. They're not outsourcing the cybersecurity operations to companies that effectively know how to deal with it. Okay, so what do companies need to do to effectively drive the digital transformation of their organization? We believe there are 6 key steps, and this should be part of a holistic journey that an organization decides to embark on. And really, at this stage, leaders in both the private and the public sectors cannot afford to do nothing. They need to develop a strategy for going digital. This, of course, depends on the industry that they're in. In some industries that are already significantly disrupted by digital, such as media, companies there have to have a different response from industries that are just starting to go on the digitization journey, such as, I don't know, mining. Financial services is probably another pretty advanced industry. But the first step really is to articulate what your corporate strategy is for the digital age. You should not articulate a digital strategy. Your digital ambitions have to be very much embedded with your overall business strategy. The second step is to determine what focus areas you want to pursue as an organization. You can't really do everything. And in our discussions with executives in the region, four focus areas really stood out. One of them was using data and analytics. So how do we really improve the data quality in our organization? How do we benefit from this data? How do we protect sensitive data? The second one was moving to the cloud, which would really significantly save costs and transfer CapEx into OpEx. The third was around digitizing customer experience, and really about deciding which customer journeys we should digitize and how do we implement these digital journeys from end to end. And finally, securing data and developing a robust cybersecurity model that also touches on the cultural element of cybersecurity in the organization. The third step is to build an engine for driving this digital transformation, and this starts with leadership. So one of the key questions there is to decide as an organization whether you need a chief digital officer or an equivalent leader to drive the digital transformation. In some cases, when the company is still in very nascent stages of its digital transformation, having a chief digital officer might be premature. In other cases, if the company is quite advanced, then you might not need one person to drive this agenda. So this is a very important dimension. The second aspect is having an operating model, so clear governance, clear collaboration models between IT and the business units to drive the digital transformation. Really, the way we see it in the future, commoditized IT services will be outsourced to the companies that are able to do them best, and the IT department within various industries would be more of a center of excellence, a center of innovation. And because ultimately all the various business units within the organization will become more digital. And finally, creating a culture that is conducive to experimentation and change, yet at the same time that respects cybersecurity measures and practices. In terms of developing digital skills, this is one of the probably most challenging one of the biggest challenges that leaders in the region mentioned, especially that even within the broader ecosystem, they're not able to find the talent that they need. So the first step here is to identify the future skills requirement as an organization. So what are the digital skills that are needed within the technology department as well as across the business? And what is the gap with our current employees? And this is a process that needs to happen regularly because the skill requirements will change quickly given the pace of technology change. And finally, how do we bridge the skills gap? And there are increasingly more innovative ways to train employees using gamification platforms, to do exchange programs with technology companies that we're seeing globally. Another important approach for the digital transformation and to embrace open innovation really is to partner with various stakeholders in the ecosystem. So I was just actually having a discussion with an MBA classmate of mine who flew in from Amman, and she was telling me about how her company, Hikma Pharmaceuticals, actually set up a corporate venture capital fund to tap into innovative ideas and startups globally. So this is definitely one approach that we've seen around the world. So companies setting up corporate venture capital funds, incubators, to try to really get some of this innovation that is happening externally and try to internalize some of it. Other companies are partnering with international technology players. Some are partnering with academia, even with government entities. This is especially the case in the GCC, where there's a lot of interesting government initiatives, such as the Dubai 3D printing strategy or autonomous driving strategy, etc., where we see that companies are trying to take advantage of these initiatives through partnerships with the government. Finally, companies need a robust approach for investing in digital. So investments in digital have to account for the riskiness of the initiative that you're undertaking. So if it's a standard day-to-day digital activity, then okay, fine. The traditional approach of doing a business case could work. But if it's an investment in a more disruptive technology, if you're investing in a startup, then you cannot do the standard business case, go to the CEO for an approval. This has to be done through pilot projects. You have to partner with other stakeholders to minimize your risk. You have to do a lot of testing and experimenting, as opposed to taking your time to do a business case for a year before deciding to proceed. So really, this is what I wanted to share with you in terms of some the insights that we got about the bottlenecks that are preventing companies in the region from going on the digital transformation, and what are some of the recommendations we have for organizations to go forward. Any questions? Thank you.